Okay.
All right.
Welcome to the Oracle of Enlightenment. This is the Observer here, along with
Dave the Hitman Herbinsky.
And we're here with our special guests, Ben Israel.
Hi there, Ben Israel.
And Mack Christian Heywood.
Hi there, Mack Heywood.
That is a really cool name. Okay. So, Mack, why don't you start telling us about your... I have to ask this because it's one of my favorite shows. Total Spies?
Totally Spies. Definitely, I've really enjoyed my experience on that. I actually started out on its spin-off in 2008, which was called The Amazing Spies. And now it's back to the original series, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. I'm going to be voicing the Dean of the University. His name is Dean Warden. So it's going to be a lot of fun keeping an eye on those spies.
And why don't you tell us about Beyblades? That's pretty popular.
Beyblade has Beyblade Metal Masters, the most recent season that's airing. Has been a really fun, unique experience for me. It's been my first foray into anime work. I always started as more of a cartoon guy, and I didn't think it was going to be nearly as fun as it was. I was really worried about making all these adjustments, having to match to mouth movements in the picture that was already done. But there's so much creativity that you're able to bring to it. There's a lot of very interesting stories and characters, and I've really enjoyed my time there so far.
You're on Beyblade too, right, Ben?
I am indeed. I play Toby, and he becomes Faust later on in the series. I start off as a good guy, and he becomes evil later on in the series. Just like Mac said, it's a ton of fun. You can bring a lot to the table. A lot of things that you wouldn't expect to be able to bring to the table. Like you said, we have to match the scripts that they give us to the mouths. But they sometimes let us change the lines and we're like, hey, we think that this will actually fit with the mouth, moving up and down better. And they listen and they're like, hey, you know what? You're right. Go for it. And then we can change the line here and there.
Depends on what kind of day it is over at the studio, pretty much.
Yeah, it does. If we're running low on time, and if we are, if everybody's in a uptight mood and stuff like that, we don't really get to change them that often. But the director is friendly enough, and she's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful woman, and she really does let us pretty much do what we want if there's time to let us do what we want.
That's great. You were also in this TV show Arthur?
Yeah, Arthur. It's surprisingly this kids show. It's in season 17 now, and I played the Spanish neighbor Alberto Molina. And he's 13.
I'm 13, and he sounds a little bit like this, but with a little bit of a Spanish twang.
And he's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun with him. It's a good show. It's a lot of fun, and it's the same director as Beyblade. Actually, I have the same director on both shows, so it's a lot of fun getting to see her a couple times a week.
Absolutely, I know she's a big fan of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is 2 commercials to remember exactly?
Too many commercials to remember. I have done. Oh God, anywhere between 100 commercials plus in my career over the last 8 years or so. So I've done way too many commercials. I don't remember most of them. I remember ones here and there, but a lot of people sometimes come up to me like, "Hey, you're the guy who did the voice of Microsoft Office." I'm like, "Yeah." Don't remember it, but thanks. Cool. So it's too many commercials to remember because I remember the interesting experiences, the ones that take a really lot out of me when I'm recording a 30-second commercial and I'm there for 2.5 hours. Those ones take a lot out of me.
Mac, why don't you tell us about Grossology? It's popular in Buffalo.
Oh, Grossology, yes, that was a very, very fun and challenging experience for me. I'm a guy who started out in internet cartoons, doing stuff online for free, and this was my first foray into television work. Really had no idea what I was getting into. The demands are so much higher. You're expected to meet this certain quality of performance, and by no means was I ready for it, but we had a phenomenal director, a lot of very patient people involved. Jesse Thompson was the director of that, who was also involved with casting for the Magic School Bus and the Tintin cartoon.
Great show.
Beetlejuice cartoon, yeah. A lot of phenomenal works to her name. And yeah, she really taught me a whole lot, a lot of great cast members involved, and it was a great experience for me. And, I turned into basically a completely different actor by the end of the run of that show.
I have two questions for the both of you. First is concerning Beyblades. How do you get to the particular characters that you have to voice for? You know, do you have a choice on which character you want, or they give that to you?
We had an extensive audition process for that. We were called into the Nelvana Studios downtown, and they gave us they assigned us the characters. They heard our tapes or whatever, and they said, okay, you would be good for this character, you would be good for this character, come in and audition for us. And Deborah, who is the director on the show, was the person who was casting it as well. And for example, for my character, when I walked in, I was actually auditioning for 2 other characters. And out of nowhere, Deborah was just like, hey, why don't you read for Toby? And, he's going to become Faust sometime or something. And, there was very little information. And I looked at this picture, I'm like, oh, I'm playing a girl. Not a girl, but a very good character. And it was really last minute. I had no preparation whatsoever. I just walked in. I'm like, yeah, hard work, guys. And she was like, all right, you're good. It's yours. So that was my experience on choosing or being chosen. For that character.
Okay.
Me ending up in the role of Zeo Abyss started out as somewhat of a nightmare experience, but ended up working out really, really well. So I showed up there 30 minutes early, expecting I'd have a lot of time to prepare. Turns out the printer was not prepared. So I'd been there waiting for about 40 minutes before they finally had the sheets printed out for the various characters that I would be reading. And I only had about 3 minutes to look over about 7 pages of paper. So it was,
of course.
It was definitely a very, very challenging experience as well when you've got a lot of the Japanese style names. I remember one of the main characters named Masamune. I never knew how to pronounce that properly, so I was reading my audition. I'm saying, I'm gonna defeat you, Masamune. Yeah, and the director wasn't really too thrilled with how I was pronouncing things understandably, but she really liked the sort of voice I was delivering for that one specific character, Zeo Abyss. And even though I didn't totally understand his personality, I thought I was playing the kind of bully, jerk, jockish sort of character who's gonna shove people around. Yeah. But he ended up having a whole lot of depth to him. There's a reason why he does the vicious things that he does. He's in the end trying to save his friend Toby. So it was really neat having a character who's got that kind of depth and personality to him.
They're really good friends. The 2 characters. My character is Toby, and his character is Zeo, and the 2 of them are very good friends.
And it's ironic how we hate each other.
We despise each other in real life. How dare you!
I can't stand you. You make me sick.
Anyways.
No.
So, yeah.
No. We've actually become good buddies. Amusingly, we didn't meet at the recording sessions. We met online. On a Beyblade forum. Oh. He was answering questions, this Q&A forum, and a good friend of mine found the forum and was like, hey, you should join in. You're also a voice actor. And then we started talking to each other. We're like, hey, let's chill. And why not? And then now we hang out at the studio together because one of us is always recording after the other one. It's like they plan us to hang out, which is weird because
they like to end with me so they can end on a good note.
Yeah, they end with him because when they start with me, I joke a lot at the beginning, but then I drive the director crazy. And then she's very happy to have Mack, who makes her feel very good.
Sure, why not?
And one more question I want to ask the both of you is, what got you into voice acting business in the first place?
I was just about to ask that one.
It's very interesting with me because this is absolutely not something I thought I was going to be doing in 2003. And then in 2004, I started pursuing it. 2006, I was doing it professionally. I started out as the very, very, very shy kid in school, to the point where I'd go several days of school where I wouldn't speak without being spoken to. Needless to say, I had many days of not saying a word, period. Because of that, I'd say I became very adept at just listening to others, and I became very good at picking up on speech patterns and accents and just ways that various people emote in order to get their feelings across. That all became very interesting to me. Eventually, I was known as the guy at school who was able to do imitations of all the teachers and students. And it was one day when I was looking up one of my favorite shows at the time, Samurai Pizza Cats, it was called.
Love that show.
Phenomenal show. And I started learning about, wait a minute, there's actors behind these various voices. And I heard one of their demos, and I just could not believe what I was hearing. It's one guy basically walks into a shop filled with characters, and he's voicing every single character. You know, he's the shopkeeper. Hey, we got lots of characters on the wall here. Would you like this one? Hey, get your hand off me, pal. Lots of amazing stuff like that. And I said, hey, this is a job. Maybe I should try and pursue this. So I ended up taking lots of workshops. I was referred to an agency that way, and that's what pretty much got the ball rolling. Ended up with Grossology, and it's all history from there.
Did you do any other, what other cartoons have you done besides the anime ones?
Let's see, what have I done? I've done, the first one was Grossology, of course, and then I did a little kid show called Toot and Puddle that aired on, I think on Treehouse TV. Did a show called Sidekick that's actually still running right now on YTV. And I think that's just about it. Then there's Totally Spies and Amazing Spies, and of course Beyblade being my first anime. And prior to that, I'd done a whole lot of online cartoons. Done a lot of things as a very snooty narrator. And I played an evil little demon and a crazy little raccoon man.
Cool. So Ben, how did you get into it?
Well, I actually got into it in a very strange way. Anime North. 2000.
Which is where we are now.
Yeah, that's where we are right now, sorry. 2002 or 2003, I was dragged here by my friend because his mom said that he couldn't come to the convention unless I was there with him. So, fine. Well, I'll go to this anime convention. What the hell is an anime? And I get dragged here, and we go to this meet and greet with the voice actors. And everybody is cowering. All the people who are attending the convention are cowering in the corner. Nobody's approaching the voice actors. I'm like, why? Why are you guys so shy? Walked right up to them. Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Ben. And all of a sudden, I start meeting, and there's David Kay, and there's Brian Drummond, and there's, just the big guys, the big boys. And all of a sudden I hear, oh my God, it's Scott! I'm like, who the hell is Scott?
Scott McNeil, good friend of ours.
Yes, Scott McNeil, fantastic voice actor, great guy. I'm like, all right, may as well go up and say hi to that guy. So I go over to him, and he, does this like pretend boxing type thing, and I do this pretend boxing type thing with him. He's like, I like you, kid. You should stick with me for the rest of the convention. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever, whoever you are. And we're sitting there together, and he goes, and he's in the middle of talking to one of the fans, and he's talking like this, and he all of a sudden stops and turns to me and says, hey, do this voice. And I said, do what voice? He goes, that's what I thought. I'm like, okay. And we're there, we're going around a little bit more, and he starts talking like this, and he says, hey, you do the voice. I'm like, okay, how? And he's like, all right, it's good. And we know the weekend ends, and he's about to leave, and he's like, you know what? I think you should think about becoming a voice actor. I'm like, what the hell is a voice actor? He's like, this is a voice actor. I'm like, all right, cool. So he's like pointing to himself and stuff like that. Forget this is the internet. They can't see me gesturing to myself. And then I moved out to Vancouver for a little bit. Went to Vancouver Film School there, and if you're living in Vancouver and you want to be a voice actor, Vancouver Film School is awesome. Or any actor. They're great. Moved back to Toronto. Basically walked into an agency and auditioned for them, got picked up, and started doing commercials right off the bat. I did this really weird cartoon at the very beginning of my career called The Clean Freak Patrol. And it was like this whole huge series that was going to be funded partially by the Canadian government and by Shoppers Drug Mart and all of this stuff, and then it didn't go anywhere. And I played 5 characters on that, and then I just started doing commercials. And I did commercials for years. And I just did a commercial a couple days ago. And then I got into cartoons really slowly with like Beyblade and stuff like that, and that's where I am now. But yeah, I've been voice acting for about the same amount of time as Mack, and that's how I got into it. Good old Scott McNeil.
What other cartoons have you done besides the one we mentioned?
Arthur, and we mentioned that in Beyblade, and we mentioned that, and now I just mentioned Clean Freak Patrol. Besides that, I've done a bunch of pilots that never took off, that never went anywhere, and I had the paycheck for it, but nothing else to show, and a series called The Dark Comedy, which is hopefully going to be picked up one of these days. It's in the middle of production, and I play two of the characters on that, the main villain and the main superhero. So,
Now, have you guys just done voice acting, or have you done acting on screen as well?
Yeah, camera acting has never particularly appealed to me. I've always been fairly camera shy. Also, I like being that kind of hidden guy, so you can hear him all the time, but you're not gonna recognize him if he's just in the supermarket buying some bananas or whatever. So I always enjoy the anonymity of it, not really thinking to ever jump over the camera or stage.
Conversely, I am very much in everyone's face all the time. I love being the center of attention, love being everywhere. I didn't notice. You didn't
These
notice?
guys are you and me, I swear.
But I love being the center of attention.
He's him.
Nice. But at the same time, I never really enjoyed being in front of the camera. I did a little bit, not much, nothing that you can see. I did some in school. I just never enjoyed the little nuances that you have to have for on-camera work, with the little twitches and the this and the this, and you have to watch yourself. I'm far too big for that. So I used to do on-stage acting, because the bigger you are, the better, because then they can hear you in the back of the room. So I was in Guys and Dolls. I was in, I don't even remember. I did a whole bunch of on-stage acting. This is Warren. My name is Warren. I don't remember. Something like This Is Our Youth. I did that. And so I did that stuff, but I maybe I'll switch over to on-camera one of these days, because it kind of fits my personality, but not really right now.
But I do enjoy how we don't have the limitation of being held back by what we look like.
Absolutely.
We can play old people, we can play little kids, we can play white people, we can play black people. It doesn't matter, and I think that's one of the greatest things about this business.
Absolutely, it's phenomenal. I mean, I've played an old woman. I played an old black woman, actually, years ago, and I can't do the voice anymore because my voice has dropped since then. But at one point I played an old black woman, and I mean, I could not do that on camera.
Just so everyone knows, Ben is white and Mac is black.
Yeah, exactly. And so, in exactly what Max said, I mean, we get to play, we're both playing on Beyblade 13-year-olds. I mean, we could not get away with that on camera, And my character has, shoulder length, brown hair, and then the next week all of a sudden his hair is silver and down to his ass. There's no way that I could do that on camera, So
you need a really good wig for that.
yeah, really good wig, really good aesthetics. It'd be fantastic. But that's what the freedom of voice acting. A lot of people think that it's constrictive because you don't get to show your facial expressions. But the truth is that the microphone picks up facial expressions. It really does, and it also picks up nuances, and you learn how to bring the mood across from your voice.
It's a totally different style. Take Tom Hanks, for instance, in Toy Story. He said doing that was one of the most difficult things he's ever done, because he had to learn a new style of getting emotion across through only his voice, because he is a guy who will try to convey an emotion through a scene simply by raising an eyebrow. That sort of thing is not going to come across in a microphone. So you had to learn new ways of inflecting, new ways of making a line interesting. And it was a really, really difficult challenge for such an accomplished, amazing actor.
Absolutely.
Do you find it more stressful when you're trying new characters behind a microphone than you actually do it like on stage, like as you're performing? Or do you feel more relaxed and laid back as you do in these characters?
It all depends on the director, the day, all that kind of stuff. If I'm trying a new character on stage, it's a character that I have now been practicing for probably months if I'm going to be in front of an audience, so I'm very, very relaxed with that character. When you're voice acting, sometimes, really, we've had days when I find out that I'm going to be in an episode a day before or 2 days before. I have no idea what character I'm playing. And sometimes, you're playing this side character. You have 10 lines here and don't worry about it, just do whatever. And I walk into the studio having never seen the character, no idea how he's supposed to sound. I say, okay, where are we? Oh, you're in Mexico. Should he sound Mexican? No, he should not sound Mexican. Should he sound like he's from New York? Sure, why not? and I'll do a New York accent for this random character. And then, Mac will walk in 5 minutes later. Can I do a New York accent? No, we already have a New York accent, right? So, sometimes it's just thrown at you, but it really depends. On stage is a completely different experience, and I love it, but I really do enjoy walking into a studio having no idea what I'm doing. And just be like, all right, let's fly by the seat of our pants and see what we can do. I did that a couple of weeks ago at a commercial. I walked in, there was no director in the room. We were patched to Calgary, so there was nobody there, and I didn't even have the script because I was cast for this without auditioning. So I didn't even have the script. So I walk in to do a commercial having no idea what I'm doing. And they're like, all right, let's go. So, it's fun, it's good, it's exciting and exhilarating, but at the same time, you're right, it can be very scary.
Okay. Is it tougher doing an anime since you're doing a cartoon that's already existed and just putting new dialogue over it than when you're doing an original cartoon?
It's interesting. There's a lot of unique challenges with each. Of course, there is, the difficulty of having to match to picture. You can't really always go at the pace that you want to. Sometimes the scripting doesn't fit as well, and, as we mentioned, we make little tweaks here and there. But what I do like is you have a very, very, very vivid picture of everything that's going on. You know what you look like, you know what the characters you're talking to look like, you know exactly where you are. You even know what sort of facial expression you're supposed to make because it's right there on your character. As opposed to when you're working with animation, you do have a lot more freedom to set your own pace and bring your own things to the character, as well as sometimes even write in a lot of your own lines if the director's going to allow you to. But once again, you don't always know what you're going to look like. In fact, Grossology I did for about maybe 17 episodes before I had any idea what my character looked like. He ended up looking pretty much exactly like me. Who knew? But again, it's just very, very interesting the way it can work out. You never really know what it's going to be until you see it up there on the TV screen.
At the same time, sometimes watching, if let's say I watch an episode of Beyblade before I record it, sometimes the Japanese performance will be in my head when I'm in front of the microphone, and that can be damaging for my own performance because they're much more subtle sometimes. I shouldn't say always. Sometimes they can be much more subtle. They can get their point across in a smaller way when what they want from me is to be huge and big and evil, and then sometimes that can affect me because I'm like, I feel like I'm going too big because this guy was really small. And so sometimes, conversely, like while you can plan out and all that kind of stuff at the same time and you can see everything, sometimes it can affect you. So it can really swing either way. Sometimes it's really, really helpful. Sometimes Mac and I watch the episode right before we go. We watch in Japanese right before going into the studio. And sometimes it works well for me and sometimes it works terribly. Sometimes I feel terrible because I start sucking. So, whatever. It happens.
Mm-hmm. All right. Do you guys have websites you want to push?
I have benjaminisrael.com, which is me. And I also have thedarkcomedy.com, which is the cartoon that I mentioned earlier, which is partially created by a whole bunch of other people, and written by me, and it's thedarkcomedy.com. It's a lot of fun.
There's a couple places you can check me out. There is my online freelance casting service, which is called Toon Platoon Casting. You can check that out at www.toonplatoon.com. And there's also my Facebook page where I will make posts about various works that I'm in or my other actor friends are in, and that is facebook.com/Mack the Actor. So that's MACTHE actor.
That's cool.
That was cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for granting us this interview. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having us. That was fantastic. Thank you.
Been an absolute pleasure.
That's Ben Israel and Mack Heywood, everyone.